सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। In yesterday's last shloka, yatte rupam kalyanathamam tatte pashyami yosavasau purushaha saha aham asmi. It is a complete celebratory situation or a moment when the sadhaka's life culminates into this anubhava vakya. Whoever be the sadhaka, the ultimate point that each one of us has to reach is this saha aham asmi. That Parabrahma Paramatma, that which I see on the seat of meditation, is verily my own true nature. And we have already seen in the 4th, 5th and 6th mantra that this very Parabrahma Tattva, which is my nature, Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahma, is the very substratum permeating through each and everything of this creation. So the focus is not about who and when and how this creation has been created. Throughout the Upanishad, throughout the scriptures, there have been several different kinds of creative aspects being explained. In the field of science, in the field of the other matas, the other religions, they have a focal point to understand that there is this creation, there is a creator, therefore we need to dedicate ourselves. But the Hindu Shastra takes a completely different tone. The purpose of explaining this creation is not to prove that there is a creation. A very, very subtle point. We get caught up in that. It is not to prove that there is a creation, but instead to prove that I, the self, is the very substratum because of which there can be an experience of the projected reality as a creation. A huge world of difference. Because intellectually it seems like that which cannot be put in words, therefore seems beyond logic. There is a sense of rejection leading to dejection. When we try to understand who created this, when did they create, and how did they create. But the premise, the baseline from which the Hindu Shastra, the Sanatana Shastra focuses upon, because our identity is towards the outside field of experience, therefore the Jagat is given a certain prominence, but it is not to prove that that Jagat has to be evaluated. It is the substratum which is my true nature, that is the very center, the core, the hub of this entire creation. And that too, that which is being experienced as a creation, to be understood as a reality only from the sense of a projected reality. So therefore, when it is said Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahma, the idea or the experience is that which I am, that alone is permeating and being the substratum of everything that which is. That oneness, when seen, is called realization. Instead, when we see the Nama, Rupa and Vyavahara and Guna, then we are seeing the divisiveness of this creation. Therefore, we are that far away from that truth, though it is right here, right now. A very beautiful, subtle point here. That the experience is that I alone am that existential principle. So far, that which I have worshipped, invoked for this mental stamina and strength to pursue this sadhaka jivana, that Ishvara alone is Parabrahma Tattva, that Parabrahma Tattva is this very Purusha. Yosavasau Purushaha, this that which I am seeing, Tejo Rupaha, Kalyanatamam, the most auspicious, that Purusha which is the Purna Purusha. Purusha itself means Purnatva. As though tying the very beginning of the Shanti mantra into the Upanishad. Purusha meaning that Purnatva which has remained, which shall remain, and which is existing as completeness unto itself. That infinite truth. That is my very nature. And that alone, Ishavasya Idagam Sarvam, Yatkincha Jagatyam Jagat, is permeating, pervading, being the substratum of every name and form. Therefore, the mantra makes it very, very clear, and it is aptly put. Hiranmayena patrena satyasyapihitam jagat. That this jagat meaning that which is the name and forms, I am distracted as an individual with these names and forms. Therefore, He Pushan, Satyasya apihitam mukham. Your actual nature, though it is right here, right now, because of which everything can be seen and experienced. And yet, I don't end up perceiving, experiencing that as my aparoksha experience. Help my mind, help my antakarana consolidate in such a way that it can get past beyond the names and forms. The names and forms are quite a distraction. Mind naturally gets attracted towards it. Why does it get attracted towards it? Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. A name, a form, a position, a power, a limelight. All of this we think is required only because I find a sense of completeness and a sense of joy, sense of security, sense of peace holding on to them. So vivid is that grip. Knowing that that is what is creating my agitations, I don't want to give up that grip. I was in a place called Kadri. There, in those days, in regular middle class family, there was no fans either. So at night, when you have to sleep, you have to go to the top stair terrace and then have your little spread of the bedding. It was also not a bed kind of a thing. The old saris stitched together with a little mat chapa. And then you throw that on that, maybe a pillow, sometimes no pillow. And then you have a mosquito net. And then you try finding different corners where you can tie it down. So at night it is like a web of these strings going across. Sometimes if the nearest one has a good anchor, their rope becomes your anchor. You have experienced that? So we were there, and at night we used to have, all the children on one side, then the adults on the other side, sleeping. Suddenly, just as we were withdrawing into sleep, there was a chaos. Must be around 8:30. There was a chaos on the nearby terrace. And those are the houses wherein you get onto one terrace, you can continuously get onto several terraces together. So there is this chaos, and then a lot of loud noise. And then we went there to the nearest terrace, almost like the entire crowd of each house was on the top, they all came in. There were a bunch of monkeys. And there was a frenetic movement. It took us a while to understand what exactly was happening on that terrace, why so many monkeys. That too, after evening, after the sun sets, you don't find one. So I saw that there was this jar with a long, thin mouth, and inside there was some food, some nuts. One of the monkeys had put its hand deep inside, grabbed the fistful of nuts. Now it is trying to pull its hand out of the jar. And that was the key fellow that was making all the noise. Listening to its noise, the entire troop of these monkeys gathered. Actually, they were trying to help him, but it looked so chaotic that it was actually they forcing him to not remove his hand. So what had actually happened? The passage of that neck of that jar was such that the hand could go through. But if the fist is full, the hand will not come out. And pretty soon, the fellow that established all this environment came down with a stick, chased away the other monkeys. This poor fellow first tied him down, the legs and the hands, and the neck was tied down, and then thrashed him blue and black. So that at least in a momentary, it would release that hand, and then that fellow was imprisoned. Maybe for some kind of this, village, they do this bandar business. I remember that example because each one of us is entrapped in such pattern And who beats us? Our own avidya beats us to death. Not realizing that all this pain and suffering is caused, the entrapped situation is experienced purely because I am holding on to it. The name, form, the attraction that it might give me a sense of fulfillment, contentment, completeness, and then the vyavahara and the guna, so that I can have a little fame, so that I can have a little power, so that I can have a little limelight, so that I can. All this starts enveloping, and anything that stops us from it, we start feeling as though it is the cause for my abrupt experience of misery. The actual cause of that abrupt feeling of misery that I go through, it's not that it is not real. I do go through that pain. In all true sense, I do go through that pain. But sadly, even in that pain, the mind is miscalculating, saying that this pain is caused because of X, Y, Z, the outside field of triggers, because of who I am going through that pain. Therefore, the prayer is a very powerful prayer. That it is so attractive. The field of names and forms. I don't want to give that up. Satyasya apihitam mukham. That Satya is readily available to experience. Gurudev says, knowing your true self is as simple as the one sleeping, waking up. A person who is asleep, when they wake up, how difficult is it to come to the waking plane? Do you have to go anywhere, do anything other than waking up? That far is your truth from this waking world. But the preparedness of that mind is required to understand where am I stuck in this field of vyavahara. And the net that we have ensnared ourselves with is so many in multiple angles. At the physical level, there are so many comforts that we have developed. At an emotional level, with the feelings, there are so many layers that I have developed of attachment. At the buddhi level, at the conviction level, I am convinced of certain things and this is how it is. Not ready to give that up. That which is apparently very, very intimate, which is my very nature, and yet I am not able to see it. Now, after these struggles, when he comes, he says, right? This Tejo Rupam Kalyanatamam, this very Purusha that I am seeing, is no other than my own self. Saha Aham Asmi. And this is the most profound statement of this Upanishad. If the Adesha Vakya is Ishavasya Midagam Sarvam Yatkincha Jagatyam Jagat, it is the instruction given by the Rishi. What should be the Anubhava Vakya? Tat Tejo Rupam Yosavasau Saha Aham Asmi. I am that. Now continuing. वायुरनिला वायुरनिलम् अमृतम् अथेदम् भस्मान्तकम् शरीरम् कृतोस्मर कृतगं स्मर क्रतोस्मर कृतगं स्मर वायुः अनिलम् अमृतम् अमृतम् अथ इदं भस्मान्तकम् इदं शरीरं क्रतोस्मर कृतगं स्मर क्रतोस्मर कृतगं स्मर. Now here is a principle which has to be, it's a technicality, and that technicality has to be understood very, very clearly. Even for a realized one, though they are seated in that intimate aparoksha anubhuti, they are seated in it, but still yet they have their prarabdha functioning through their BMI, body, mind and intellect. Now if there is a vyavahara happening through that BMI, there has to be necessarily an agency to function. Meaning, there is a very minute amount of that ahankara still existing in that Mahatma. There is Jivan Mukti, and in that Jivan Mukti, the very last phase, crucial phase, is when they come to understand, now is the time that I am leaving this body. It is at that moment that final little subtle layer of ego that still persists is finally merged. Up until that moment, there is that still subtle layer, though they are already established in the self. So in their last moment, what is explained? Vayuhu anilam amritam atha idam bhasmantagam shariram. This is not, I have seen that these last 3-4 mantras from Hiranmayena Patrena to the 18th mantra is often Agnenaya Supataraye, that is the last shloka, last mantra. So up until then, I have seen people try asking the one who is on the deathbed to repeat. This is not a old person dying on the deathbed, their mantra. It is the mantra of that Mukta Purusha who is now ready to quit this. In that moment, what does he do? His prana shakti, Vayuhu, Anilam, both mean Vayu. But Vayu here means the prana shakti. Anilam, into that totality of the air as it is being merged, after which Bhasmantagam Shariram. This Sharira is to be completely charred. Bhasmantagam Shariram. What does he do? Kratosmara, Kratagam Smara, Kratosmara, Kratagam Smara. That which that individual, that Mahatma has experienced in the seat of meditation, he draws his mind to that Kratagam, the final accomplishment, the final stature of being. Kratosmara. He takes his mind to finally merge it beyond any recognition. I think Swami Taponam Maharaj says it beautifully, that when Gangaji starts her flow, she starts with different names. Alakananda, Mandakini, various names. They all merge. And just above Rishikesh, she gathers the name of Gangaji. All these different names and forms merge to become Ganga Devi. And in her, there are Varuna, Asi, Yamuna, all of this also merge into her. That who has consumed all names and forms to keep the identity of Ganga as intact, as she goes into that Purna Purusha Sagara, what happens to that identity? And the delta region where the Sundarbans are, there's a huge, the largest mangrove that you can find on this earth. It is called Ganga Sagar. That area is called Ganga Sagar. Crossing that threshold of Ganga Sagar, up until then there was a name form identity. What happens to that name form identity? Is completely vanished. The moment she enters to that Purna, ocean is Nisima, Asima. There is no Sima to it. In that, when it merges, its name, form, identity as Ganga finally ceases to be, to become one with that colossal mass of water. Similarly, on that seat of meditation, whatever was experienced as the very nature of self, when this Mahatma, no more a sadhaka, Mahatma, who has abided in the self, but in Vyavahara used to function knowing that it is Guna Guneshu Vartante iti Matvana Sajjate. That these gunas are interacting with the outside gunas, I am the one that is being conscious of it. Finally merges that identity of that which was already experienced, meaning what? It is not a mere mistake. Many of us hope, listening to the stories of Kalidasa, Vivekananda, we also should have that kind of a confluence of strangeness. The merger of different strangenesses coming together, and suddenly I am now Mukta. There are no miracles. The only miracle is the tenacity to be a sadhaka and to reach to this point of Soham Asmi. It requires a lot of courage. to tenaciously stand on that standpoint and continuously be a sadhaka. We often joke at Vishwamitra ji's life, Maharshi Vishwamitra. How many times did he fall? So many times. His very beginning of sadhana was not from the standpoint of being in a sadhaka. He was a kshatriya, competitive in spirit, full of rajas. He saw that Vasishtha had a kamadhenu, he wanted to own it. And Vasishtha, just with this Brahmadanda, defeated all his Astra Shastra, protecting that kamadhenu. He says, how did you get that Brahmadanda? I mean, he's thoroughly defeated. But where is his focus? I thought I had all powerful Astra Shastra, and this fellow has just nothing but a danda on which he rests his hand. And with that he just consumed all my Astra Shastra. That means that is more powerful than this. For this you have to become a Brahma Rishi. Not just a Rishi, a Brahma Rishi established in that Brahman. He does severe tapas. First came Kamini. He spent about 13-14 years with her. And then suddenly he realizes, drops everything and goes does tapas again. Then comes Trishanku Swargarohana. All his tapas for the power that, the limelight that he could get, he uses up. As Trishanku is ascending and he falls and he creates a pratisrishti around him, he realizes, इसका फायदा क्या हुआ अभी? And then he does again tapas. Rambha comes in again to tease him and test him. He says, you could fool me then. Now you cannot fool me. How dare you try to fool me? And he gets angry. As he is uttering the sharper turn into a stone, he realizes, Arre, again my entire tapas is gone away in this sharper. Then he does a flawless tapas for the sake of tapas, for attaining that Brahma Tattva. There is no more Brahma Rishi. He is not interested in being a Brahma Rishi either. Then establishes himself in that Supreme. So we usually ridicule and say that, Vishwamitra got caught up. More pivotal point here is how many ever times that he fell, he rose up to become a sadhaka in its true sense, that much more vigorously. In little attempts just to maintain the schedule of living a sadhaka's life. मॉर्निंग पूजा करना है, जप करना है, स्वाध्याय करना है. Not every day is the same. Sometimes it will feel one day break. Once the mind slips into that complacency, to drag it back onto that track becomes such a Herculean task. Not easy. But charai veti. Don't stop. Don't get caught up. Realize that it has been caught up. Work it out. Don't beat yourself to guilt. Work it out. It is but natural to fall. It should be understood that it is equally natural for an individual to rise and not give up. That is called tapas. I usually tell parents, we hover on them and try protecting them from all different angles, that there should not be any kind of fall or fail or not a great strategy for parenting. Teach them all that which protects them from fail or fall. But if they do fall or fail, teach them how to raise back on their own 2 feet and firmly start moving forward. That is the skill set that is missing in this generation, wherein one little fall, one little fail, all their assessment about themselves is shattered. Because up until the education system also has become like that, wherein education is not the criteria, but it is passing and cracking that exam and passing through that next stage, that has become the criteria, wherein the grasp of that subject is hollow. They have those answer books, they memorize that, spit it out immediately. After a year or two, not even a year, after 6 months, that which they have memorized is gone. Because there is no connected to the applicability of it, the practicality of it, or the very essence of it. So they have cracked IIT, they have cracked all these big institutions. In their first 6 months, they start failing, and all that which they have built as their little ghosla that was there inside, it shatters. Now, having reached there, failing, because there is no more that support system. And they are not taught how to pick themselves up after a fail. If that is not learnt, because it is not a guarantee that you will not slip up. It is not guaranteed that you will trip and fall. It is not guaranteed that your own tenacity will fail. It will break. There is always a breaking point. See, every material has a certain tenacity to it. You push it beyond a certain use, it will break at that point. Mind is also like that. But just because it is broken, it is not the end of life. Gather it together, piece it together. It is how quickly can you pick yourself up, get back onto the tracks and start moving forward. Way better than accomplishment is the ability to constantly move without stopping. You will reach one day. But with all that gung-ho and that courage and that spirit with which once it trips, there is no technology, there is no skill set learned how to put it back. A sadhaka has to have that kind of courage. Therefore, the Upanishad says, Atma balahinena na labhyaha. That this Atma Chaitanya is not something that मैं ऐसे बैठ लिया 2 मिनट कर लिया तो हो गया. The rigor that it requires. That you sit with yourself, look at your own inadequacies, look at your own lacuna, and not feel disgusted by it. There will be waves of disgust. Because what I present myself to the world and what I am, when that is revealed and understood, you will be overpowered with that disgust. But to sort that, prioritize and work on each layer, constantly keep working at it. It is not by mistake that they have reached to that inner core of being. There is a severe tapas that has been performed. All that tapas culminating into this Saha Aham Asmi. Aham Brahmasmi has been attained to. That is the exact spot where they take their mind to, Krata, the mind, Kratagam, to that where they have seated themselves to the core of the being. And there the Vayu merges with the totality. In the several parts of the scripture, when somebody dies, it is called Panchatvam Gataha. The 5 elements are burnt. The body is burnt. Whereas, when a Mahatma leaves the body, it is called Panchatvam Vilinaha. Each one of these elements is merged back consciously into that totality. The identity is dropped of the individuality into that totality, and there is no more individuality, rises to merge into that supreme. What is merged into the totality? The 5 elements are merged. Meaning the 5 koshas are merged into the totality. What remains gets absorbed in that supreme. Kratosmara, Kratagam smara. Undacha. Next mantra. Agne naya supatharaye asman vishwani deva vayunani vidvan yuyodhyasmat juhuranameno bhuyishtam te nama uktim vidhema agnenaya supatha raye asman vishwani deva vayunani vidvan yuyodhyasmat juhuranameno bhuyishtam te nama uktim vidhema. So here this mantra, having given up until the 17th mantra, this is the mantra that is chanted by the student and the teacher. Agne Naya Subhatha Raye. Hey Agni, in the ancient days, in every Gurukula, every day, as the Brahmachari, Bhikshu, goes out for Bhikshatana, has to also collect several twigs and wood, so that collectively they perform the Homa every day. Gayatri Mantra, Suryopasana. And the Agnihotra is Agni Upasana. They have already worshipped He Pushan Apavrunu. That is the Pratyaksha Daiva. Now here, that is not accessible. Agni becomes the agency. So they are invoking the Agni Devata. He Agni, Supatha Raye. Take me to that Supatha. Supatha of Sadhaka Jivana. Because what is the end purpose? Raye. Raya means wealth. What kind of wealth? We saw the other day. Ram Ratana Dhana Payo. Nidhi Chala Sukhama Ramuni Sannidhi Chala Sukham. So this Nidhi is the closest proximity to the self within. That is the treasure. Nothing else can be treasured. Nothing else is worth treasuring. If you look at all the lineages of great kings, great aristocrats, great businessmen, where are they? Their further lineages, everything is toppled and spoiled. They are back to the square one. See, I see that one generation puts a huge effort, really strives, really struggles, earns enough for 7 generations. Born in that kind of affluence, the next generation doesn't know what it means to put hard effort. See, I've seen people from here go to the other countries. They really toil, struggle. But the next generation, they have seen only affluence. So their interest is not in any kind of hard work. Maybe a certain few. By the third generation, they don't look into their skill sets, potential, talents. ऐसी जिंदगी काट रहे हैं. That which was earned worth for 7 generation, 1 generation stupid move is sufficient to burn it all out. The generation after that again has to struggle, toil, and then reconstruct themselves. We see this cycle. No wealth is permanent. So the purpose for which the wealth is mentioned here is the truest wealth that we can is the very self within. Supatha. Supatha, the absolute path of good. Because at every intersection, we do have a choice between that which is good and that which is easy. And what do we choose? Easy. And we glorify that easy. Don't work hard, work smart. Jugaad. Work smart. Beat the system. Now, in every single situation, whether others are observing or not, a conscious decision has to be, even if it is hard, even if it is difficult, even if it appears impossible. Take the path of absolute good. May I have that kind of sthirata in my buddhi that I stick to this path of absolute good. Until when? Until I reach that Raya, the absolute That absolute which is very my nature. Vishwani Deva Vayunani Vidwan. O Agni, O Devata, you know everything that which is, that which was, and that which is to be. You are the all-pervasive Supreme. Though I am invoking you in this form as Agni, you are verily that Supreme. Vishwani Deva Vayunani Vidwan. You are the all-knower. Yuyodhi Asmat Juhuranam Ekam. Juhuranam Enam. Remove from me or from us, because it is both the teacher and the taught. Juhuranam. Juhura is the very messy way of being attracted, being stuck because of the attraction. It is more about talking about the sense of being stuck because I am attracted to something, Juhuranam, and that becomes deviating from the very path. Therefore, anything that deviates from the self is called enaha, a sin. I don't know whether it's during this series of lecture, I said, our very baseline is Papa. Why is that baseline Papa? See, that which I am, if I don't present as is, don't we call that person a hypocrite and a liar? That which I am not and assume to be, is that not called as lying and being a hypocrite? That baseline itself, wrong identification itself is the Ghora Papa. Being identified with it, then what do we talk of Papa Punya? The very baseline itself is on a wrong stature. Am I getting across? Buddhihina tanu janike. Buddhihinata means to be identified as this body, mind and intellect. When that baseline itself is crooked, things that which I do with that crooked baseline, how straight can they be? They will be that which will be attracting me and me feeling a sense of stuck in those different lines. Hey Agni, please, you Yudhi, protect me from myself. Who do we need protection from? Not from the outside world. Protect me from this crooked sense of mind. Bhuishtam nama uktim vidhema. With the best of the intentions of prayers, Bhuishta, the best of the intentions, nama uktim vidhema. We are offering this prayer unto you. Please protect me from my own identifications with the wrong things. Protect me from this crooked way of thinking of my own mind and intellect, so that I can grow out of it and stabilize myself as the self, within the self, experiencing nothing but that self. Let us together chant the Shanti mantra of this Upanishad. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। असतो मा सद्गमय, तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय, मृत्योर्मा अमृतङ्गमय। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते, पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ। श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ।